Then please be seated. The court is now in session. Today the chamber continues to hear the testimony of witness Sam Hearn. And if it's possible, we hear testimony of witness to TCW 901. Ms. Sakalwati, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals at today's proceedings. Grazie, Mr. President, for today's proceedings. All parties to discuss are present. Mr. Nunchi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. A witness who is to continue his testimony today, that is Mr. Sam Hearn, is ready and present in the courtroom. We also have a reserved witness, namely through TCW 901, who confirms to his best knowledge and ability he has no relationship by blood or by law through any of the two accused, that is Nunchi and Kieu Sampon, or any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness will take an oath before his testimony. Thank you. President, thank you. The chamber now decides on the request by Nunchi. The chamber has received a waiver from Nunchi dated 22nd June 2015, which notes that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his right to participate in and be present at the 22nd June 2015 hearing. He advises that his counsel advised him about the consequence of this waiver, that in no way it can be construed as a waiver of his rights to be tried fairly or to challenge evidence presented or admitted to this court at any time during this trial. Having seen the medical report of Nunchi by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 22nd June 2015, who notes that Nunchi has a severe back pain and he also has a flu, the doctor also recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nunchi his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio visual means. The AV unit personnel are instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nunchi can follow it remotely. That applies for the whole day. The chamber now hands the floor to the co-prosecutors to continue putting questions to this witness. You may proceed.
Good morning, sir. I would like to begin by apologizing for an error I made in my mathematics. The year of the horse, it's a 12-year cycle. So if you were born, there was a year of the horse between 3 February 1954 and 23 January 1955. If you were born in November, as you said, then in April 1970, you would have been 15 years old at the time of the Lon Nol coup. And in April 1975, the time that Khmer Rouge captured Phnom Penh, you would have been 20 years old. Does that sound about right? Because otherwise you would have been about 3 years old when the Lon Nol coup occurred, or you would have been 27 years old. Were you a teenager, about 15 years old at the time of the Lon Nol coup?
During the year of the coup d'etat, that is around 1968, through my recollection, I was about 17 years old.
Sir, you told us that you then joined in the front to fight. Can you explain to the court, why was it you joined in the National Front?
At that time, after I quit schooling and the coup d'etat occurred in 1968, the King Sihanouk made an appeal for Cambodians to go to the Maki Forest in order to join the front for national salvation, to liberate the country and to liberate the king. And that's the reason for me joining the front.
So you fought in response to the call of the king to liberate the king. Do you feel that you were cheated by the Khmer Rouge, or how do you feel about the time you spent with them?
At that time, I didn't think that I was cheated by the Khmer Rouge and its policies. It was my belief that the front, their aims were to liberate the nation. And that's why I joined the resistance movement to engage in the liberation of the country.
I think I didn't ask you a clear question. Were you aware when you joined the front, did you imagine that the Khmer Rouge would keep the king under arrest in his home with only Khieu Samphan visiting him and unable to visit his children and powerless to affect policies? Did you imagine that when you joined the front?
My conscience at the time did not reach that depth of analysis. I simply aimed to attend the front for, firstly, to liberate the nation, secondly, to liberate the king.
Sir, the reason I ask is that you made a statement to researchers from DC CAM on English. It's page 42, 0087 6519. You said this: I never forgot about the Pol Pot regime, and I tell my children they have to be firmly against such a regime and prevent it from happening again in Cambodia. And on the next page you said, all of us lived in a prison without walls. Can you explain those statements to me?
President, witness, please hold on. And the defense counsel, Rakang, you have the floor.
Merci.
Thank you. I think Mr. Prosecutor understood. I'd like to have the French ERN so I could probably follow. Thank you.
That's a perfectly understandable request. My understanding is that is on its way, so I'll skip this for now. I don't have this at the moment. Sir, you mentioned that among the battles that you fought in Kampong Cham. Can you tell us about that?
I engaged in the Kampong Cham battlefield along National Road number 6. And then I was also engaged in the Skund battlefield and the Phnom Srai and along Jining. I attended most of those battlefield areas, but I cannot give you the details of the geographical locations or names.
Okay, thank you. Now, you talked about being a member of the Division 310 and Company 5 of, I believe, Regiment 12. There's a document I would like to show you, and that is document... can I just do it the number? D 1.3.32.39. And I have a copy that could be shown to the witness. And in Your Honor, may a copy be put on the screen or shown to the witness? And I have a hard copy.
President, yes, you may do so.
Excuse me for a moment. The French ERN of this document is 00885282. Okay. The witness cannot read. Thank you, sir, for explaining. Let me put that on the record. Sir, the court officer showed you a copy of this document. Is it correct that you cannot read it because of your limited opportunities for education?
I currently read some at the start of my adolescence, but since the war time, I got injured several times and I have poor eyesight.
Let me read this to you. It indicates it has a title of brief biography. It says, of Comrade Kim, Division 310, Regiment 12, Battalion 123, Company 5. And then 2 pages over, it indicates the name, original name was Sem Hon, revolutionary name Kim, birth date November 1951 in Baksna village, Baksna commune, Bare district, Kampong Tom province. Does that all sound like your information, sir?
បាទ
Yes, that information is the same.
And it indicates father's name, Seb, mother, Kut, current address, Baksna village. Is that correct?
បាទត្រឹម
Yes, that statement in that document is correct.
And then it indicates on the back page that this was done on the 24th of August, 1976. And there is some writing. The reason Ankar had removed me from the unit and sent me into the unfavorable element unit was because I traveled around arbitrarily and I did not obey Ankar's disciplines. However, I have already made every effort to change and eliminate all kinds of elements considered to be non-revolutionary. Do you recall making this biography?
I clearly recall that Ankar removed me from my unit because I was accused of violating the organizational disciplines and regulations. At that time, the situation was very difficult for me. I was a soldier fighting in the front battlefields, and Phnom Penh was liberated as a result, but in the end, a soldier like myself was severely mistreated. I was deprived of sufficient food. I was not allowed to exercise my freedom of movement or speech. And I couldn't adhere to all their organizational disciplines and regulations, as I sometimes had to make some movement. Before the liberation, I used to be in Phnom Penh, and sometimes I moved from my unit to chit-chat with other soldiers in a nearby unit, and for that I was accused of being liberal in my movement.
Well, sir, were you accused justly or was it unjust in your view? Did you have tendencies against the Khmer Rouge? Were you trying to sabotage them or not?
I adhered to my own principle, that is to oppose the Democratic Cambodia regime. I didn't like that regime.
Can you tell us why was it you didn't like this regime that you had voluntarily joined back at the time of the Lon Nol coup?
At the beginning, that is when I volunteered to attend and join the front movement. I did it on my own volition. Later on, after I made observation regarding the movement and the intention of the Khmer Rouge, it was contradictory to my hope and expectation. They mistreated soldiers, they mistreated their own people, and for that I disliked the Khmer Rouge.
I don't know, sir, if you had an opportunity to look at the back page of that document. If you did, can you tell me if that's your handwriting or if someone else wrote it? Would you like to see it again?
I cannot recall whether it was my own writing or whether someone else assisted me in writing that statement.
Okay, sir, I want to go back to what I read to you earlier now that I have the ERNs. So on page 43 of the statement, which is in English, ERN 00876519, in Khmer, it's 000-20596, and French 00892-663. You said we could see that all of us lived in a prison without walls. Explain to those of us who were not there during democratic Kampuchea, why do you say it was like living in a prison without walls?
I spoke to other soldiers who were working nearby where I was. We said that we were living during the Khmer Rouge regime, the Pol Pot regime, and that we didn't enjoy any of our freedom. And I asked whether all of them agreed to what I said. Only some agreed, as the rest were was illiterate or didn't have sufficient education to understand that. And we spoke about the limit to our freedom, for instance, freedom of movement, and it seemed like we were living in a prison without wall. And that was totally contradictory to during time that we were soldiers fighting in the front battlefields.
Sir, when you made this biography, or when it was prepared, the one I just read to you, which indicates you were in Company 5, do you remember where you were at the time?
President witness, please wait, and Judge Lavange, you have the floor.
Oui, excusez-moi.
Yes, I apologize for interrupting you, Mr. Prosecutor, but I do have a question about the reference in this biography. I believe you gave an ERN, but I was not able to find it. I did find the following, which would be, so it would be 19.161, which would be in the introductory submission. Is there another reference? I haven't quite followed. Could you please shed some light on this?
Yes. I see also my English copy is marked 19.161. There's another reference number, which the Khmer copy is copied. That's D1.3.32.39. And I believe the French ERN is 5262. Hopefully you all have the same document. Says, sir, I'm sorry, let me repeat the question. When this biography was prepared, where were you?
When the biography was written, I was stationed in Wat Phnom, that is in Phnom Penh.
Now this indicates that you were in Company 5 of Battalion 123. Did you remain in that unit for some years? Can you tell us, did you always remain in that unit, or were you assigned to other units?
During that period of time, I was not yet removed from my unit, and I was in Phnom Penh for 1.5 months before I was assigned to engage in rice farming at Tam Cuc. And my entire unit was reassigned to engage in rice farming at Tam Cuc, and we were instructed to achieve 5 tons of rice yield per hectare. However, we were not given any cattle to work on the field. We were only given hoes. And we had to use our bare hands to do the rice farming, to pull the seedlings and to transport the rice seedlings. And when we could not reach that level of produce, we were accused of not adhering to the instructions and regulations of the organization. And we told them if we were going to work that way, we would not be able to achieve the 5 tons of rice yields per hectare, and not even the 3 tons of rice yield per hectare. And at that time, we had to start working early in the morning in the rice fields, that is from 5 o'clock in the morning. And that was the sour part of my life, and I cannot forget that.
Sir, you were a soldier, you told us, and you fought on many battlefields around Cambodia. After the Khmer Rouge captured Phnom Penh and the Lon Nol army surrendered, did you maintain your weapon? Did they continue to let you be a soldier and carry your weapon?
It was dependent on the stages that I was in. After I was removed from my unit, it means after I was screened out, the weapon was no longer allowed to be with me. If they believed that if we were still armed, then they would not be able to do anything against us. And they told us that we soldiers did not have to engage in any battlefield anymore. For that reason, the objective of the army changed. That is, we had to engage in developing the country, and for that reason, our weapons were being requested to be confiscated by the organization.
Well, how about your comrades at the rice field, the other members of your division who were sent there? Were they also disarmed?
Yes, Every soldier in my unit was disarmed.
Now, the biography we mentioned is dated the 24th of August, 1976. Did you remain disarmed for the rest of the Democratic Kampuchea period, or did you ever get your arms back?
Answer: No. No, the weapons were not given back to them.
Okay, I want to concentrate on the Democratic Kampuchea period. So after the surrender of the Lon Nol Army and the capture of Phnom Penh in April 1975, after the Khmer Rouge had won the war, did you receive any political training?
Answer: I was not indoctrinated in terms of political training. I was called and instructed that I had to work hard in the rice field in order to achieve 5 tons per hectare. Any unit could not achieve the target would be accused of being linked to CIA or KGB network. I would like to inform the court. One day we were engaged in the rice farming, and I don't know whether it was a joke at that time. We were told that if we were engaged in rice farming, we could have cooked rice to eat, but if we had no water for the rice farming, we would eat gruel. I am here to testify, and I am here to give my statements to help all victims, including me myself. I am one of the victims. I survived the period, and I am here to tell the court about my experience.
Sir, you indicated you did not receive any political training during the DK period, but after the fall of Phnom Penh, after the Khmer Rouge captured Phnom Penh and defeated the Lon Nol Army, did you hear of senior cadres receiving any training in Phnom Penh?
Answer: After the liberation of Phnom Penh, I joined the low-level training session. It was called the meeting or rally at that time. I was sent from the division, and I was there to attend the low-level training and ask for senior leaders who were in attendance. I did not know, and I did not know whether Khieu Samphan or Pol Pot attended any political trainings.
Okay, thank you. Where was the training that you attended? Was it in your division area, or where was it?
Answer: I used to be in the training at Wat Phnom, the office of the division.
Okay, thank you. Did you hear of any senior cadres receiving training at the Olympic Stadium?
Answer: I heard about that and I witnessed that. They called us into the meeting. Members from regiment, from a battalion upwards, were called into a rally at the stadium.
So, what do you mean by you witnessed it?
Answer. At that time, I was in the unit, and when we were called into the training session, I knew about it. And I asked my comrade where the meeting took place. He told me that he joined the rally or the training session at the stadium, at Olympic Stadium. I was staying close to this comrade, and he had a good relationship with me. So I asked him about the rally, and when he went anywhere, he also told me about the place where he went.
Thank you. Which comrade was that? What was his name?
Answer. His name was 8. I do not recall his surname. I do not remember his full name, but I know that his name was 8.
Ed was your battalion commander, is that correct?
Answer. Yes, that is correct. He was the commander of my battalion.
And what was the fate of Ed during Democratic Kampuchea period?
Answer. He was arrested and put in prison. After the arrest was made on the division, he was arrested.
Let's talk a bit about these arrests. Your division 310 was part of which zone?
Answer. The division was under North Zone.
At the time you fought against the Lon Nol Army, was the leader of the North Zone Koi Toon?
Answer. Yes, that is correct. The name was Koi Toon.
Thank you for correcting my pronunciation. By the way, a very small question. Do you recall Koi Toon putting on plays for the soldiers and for the population in your zone?
Answer. I did not recall well at that time. I was a combatant in the front battlefield. I was not at the rear. I did not recall it well, where he was, and I did not know where he was relocated. As I stated, I was in the front line. And the chief of the zone, from what I knew, was Koi Toon.
When the Lon Nol Army was defeated, were many weapons captured?
Answer. After Tribunal was defeated, there were many weapons. And as I stated, I was in the front line. I did not concentrate on collecting weapons. My responsibility was to defend the armies in the front battlefield. And as for the weapons were collected in the area battlefield or were collected from Phnom Penh. And I did not pay attention to how many weapons had been collected.
Do you know if additional weapons were received from abroad, from places like China, during the Democratic Kampuchea period?
Answer. After the liberation of Phnom Penh, from what I knew, weapons were bought from abroad, perhaps from China. This is what I heard.
But you've told us that after the victory over the Lon Nol forces, even though weapons were captured from that army that surrendered and additional weapons from abroad, you and your colleagues were disarmed. Do you know why?
Answer. In my wisdom, I knew that there was a principle from them. And some of us were accused of CIA or KGB. And if we were armed, we would be able to inspire a revolution against them. So there was a principle that weapons had to be disarmed, has to be collected or confiscated. And that is what I knew.
Sir, were you KGB or CIA, or did anyone try to get you to join the KGB or the CIA?
Answer. We were called into a meeting. And we had been told that for those who had been affiliated with CIA or KGB had to be alerted. And I myself had no idea what CIA or KGB was. And when the arrests were made against division or regiment, and we were told that you were from the North Zone and some of you were CIA or KGB. Some of my colleagues did not really understand what CIA or KGB was, and I told my colleagues that I myself did not know about that either. And I had to do my work on the daily basis based on my assignment.
You had a cousin, Egg, who was in your battalion. Is that correct?
Answer. Yes, he was the commander of my battalion.
Of your battalion or company?
He was the commander of a battalion.
Who was his superior?
His immediate superior was Uan, the division commander.
Okay, sir, I just want to make sure that there is not a confusion about names. Is the person you're talking about now called Et?
Answer, yes, that is correct.
In a document 002, the document number, I believe, is D94/13, and the ERN in Khmer is 00170631, and in English 002058081. I don't have the French, but it's only half a page before the end of the document. You made this statement, sir. You said, I saw them arrest people every day when I was at Tulkok. My cousin, Eng, let me correct my pronunciation. My cousin Eng, a company chairman, was arrested at Tulkok. So is Eng different than Et?
Answer, I would like to verify the name. Ain was a different person from 8.
And which one was your cousin?
Answer, it was Ain, who was my cousin. I do not recall his family names either. And this individual was my cousin. His name was Ain, not 8. He was the head of the company.
Thank you. So was he your commander at the time?
Answer, are you referring to 8 or A?
Eng, your cousin, was he the commander of Company 5 that you were in?
Answer, yes.
Who were the people that carried out the arrest of Eng?
Answer, I did not witness the arrest, but I knew that he was arrested. He was called, and I heard that the company was called into a study session at the division, and he disappeared afterward. I was waiting for his return from days to day, but he never returned. And later on, I heard people say that Aang betrayed them. He was arrested because of this.
What was the fate of Eng? Did he survive the Democratic Kampuchea period, to your knowledge?
Interpreter could not hear the full statement of witness.
Sorry, sir. Can you speak up a bit? Maybe move the microphone a little closer to you. We didn't hear your answer.
Witness, could you repeat your question?
Do you know after Eng was arrested, what happened to him?
Answer. I have no idea, but I heard about it. I heard that he was arrested and put in Prasor prison. I did not witness his actual arrest.
Have you ever seen him since?
Answer. He disappeared afterward. I did not know his whereabouts, and my work colleagues told me that he was arrested and put in Prasor prison. I have no idea where he was and where he is now.
What about the division commander On? Do you recall when he was arrested?
Answer. I could not recall well when he was arrested. What I knew is that the whole soldiers of a division were called into a meeting at Wat Phnom. And after that time, cadres from southwest zones were sent to replace those of north zones. And we were told that former soldiers of a division were traitors and they had been arrested. And we were asked whether or not we wanted to hear the recording of our superior. And at that time, I knew that my superior was arrested. But as I stated, I could not recall when exactly he was arrested.
Now, when you were called into the meeting at Wat Phnom, was there anyone there from outside of your division in charge of the meeting?
Answer. At that time, I could notice some strangers, new faces. After Eun had been arrested, Tui came to replace him. He was from southwest zone.
Now, at the meeting, did they play a tape recording of On speaking?
Answer, yes. But because there were many attendees at that time, I could not hear clearly what was saying in the tape recording. The recording was not clear. I could not get the content of the confession in the recording, and I only knew that he was being mistreated from the voice he spoke.
Did you know at that time, did anyone inform you that On had been taken to S21, to Tu Slang?
Answer. I knew that he was taken to S21 or Tu Slang. President, you may now proceed. Counsel Kung Samon. I do not have objection because it is too late. The witness has stated earlier that the witness stated about the S21, and he mentioned that his cousin and his superior aide were sent to Preso. And there was a leading question from the co-prosecutor. Co-prosecutor asked whether Unda was sent to S21, and I believe that question was a leading one, but it is too late to raise my objection.
Well, if there is a request from the defense that we establish that Un was in S21, I can do that. There are records, and I could take a little bit of time. Just for the record, Your Honor, E3-342, number 8967 on that list is Un, showing he entered S21 on 17 February 1977. E3/1891 is the confession of Un, dated the 20th of February 1977, where he says this was how it was right up through 18 February when the party detained Song and me. Mr. Witness, had you heard anything about...
President, you may now proceed. Counsel Kung Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps co-prosecutor misunderstood what I have just said. I did not object that the question that he asked. I would like to clarify that Un was witness states that the cousin and aide was sent to Preso. President, actually what I heard from the counsel is that counsel wanted to raise an objection at that time, but it is too late. He said that it was a leading question. That's why he rise up. He is on his feet at that time.
Sir, there's another document, E3/1892. And in English, the ERN is 0096972. In Khmer, it's 0001281. And it is not available in French. This is a confession of Song. I just mentioned in Un's confession, he said he was detained with Song. And Song said, on 10 February 1977, the General Staff Organization, in the guise of TUM, sent Un and me to Battambang province with Vaughn and Wren, the General Staff Assistant. We had been there maybe 7 days when I was arrested and brought in. Sir, did you know at the time that Un was arrested in Battambang?
President, you may now proceed, Judge Laverne.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. You just read the content of confessions obtained at S21, and it's possible that these were obtained under torture. Perhaps it would be better to avoid this kind of question for the moment.
Certainly, and very briefly, this is, of course, consistent with our position that there's information such as when someone was arrested and where they were arrested that would not be precluded, as that would not have been the product of torture. But in order to avoid controversy at the present time, I'll move on. Sir, do you know why Un was arrested?
Answer. I did not know the reason he was arrested, but as I stated, I was in a meeting and I heard they said my superior betrayed them. I was told that your superior was a traitor, betrayed the party and Angka. And after that time, I was asked whether I wanted to hear the recording. And as I stated earlier, I could not hear the content of the confession because the voice was not clear enough, and I believe that he was severely mistreated at that time.
You had fought with Un for many years. Is that correct?
While I was living under his supervision, I engaged in several battlefields, and that went through the liberation of Phnom Penh, and we were dispersed upon his arrest.
When you were fighting under Un, did you ever have any reason to believe that he was collaborating with the Lon Nol Army, the Vietnamese, the CIA, the KGB?
I didn't know that if at any stage he was involved in those alleged political activities. And the only thing I knew of him was that we followed his instructions, whichever battlefields we were assigned to do. But on his political tendency or whatever, we didn't have the knowledge of that.
You've told us you were a regular soldier and he was a division commander. Did you have any direct contact with him, or did you only receive orders through your company or battalion commanders?
I never received any direct order from him. The order came through in the chain of command, that is from regiment to battalion down to company, etc.
This would be a good time to break if that's convenient.
President, thank you, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. It is now convenient to take a short break, and we will resume at 10:30. Court officer, please assist the witness during the break and invite him into the courtroom again at 10:30. The court is now in recess.